These are the three co-founders of Celsius Network, who claim to be running a profitable lending business that retail investors could use like a bank. But they were hiding a dark secret. Their business was losing hundreds of millions of dollars despite their claims to the contrary, and the returns they offered investors were all fake.
Everything stacked on top of itself to make you believe that it was a well-run, efficient company that was prospering and growing. And instead, we discovered that it's just a cesspool of deceit and dishonesty.
The tragedy with Celsius is there have been some staggering losses. Victims were induced to deposit more than they could afford to lose onto this platform that they were told was safer than a bank. That includes people's life savings, their retirement savings. This tragedy has had an enormously negative impact on the quality of life of these victims. And nobody's really doing anything about this, including the influencers who recommended the platform to their followers. My objective is to try to drive attention towards the victims that need help the most. While there are a lot of people that require help, the thought is the money will go furthest if we direct it towards one victim to start with. So I've selected Rebecca Gallagher. Rebecca has a really tough situation where she sold her house and put the proceeds onto the platform. Literally, her entire retirement and life savings sit with Celsius. To tie this back into the City Bike Share program, I'm currently riding one of the many thousands of City Bikes in operation throughout New York City. For the 4th of July, I'm going to keep riding until hitting 1776 on the leaderboard system. My full interview with Rebecca Gallagher will be linked at the end of this video.
You know, I had decided I was going to have to sell my house to retire because it was really my only asset, and I'd been a stay-at-home mum for many years. And I knew I couldn't afford it in retirement. It had way too many overheads, monthly overheads. And so I'd already sold it and was trying to decide where I'd buy my beach house, where I could afford my downsized beach house. I transferred my USDC, which was for the beach house, onto Celsius because that was earning the highest interest. And so I don't actually have a beach house or a home now. I'm just living with my son in one bedroom now in a rental that I used to own. So I've really come from thinking I had the most glorious future and that everything was set. I was going to be getting my $1,000 a week yield. That was more than a few of the last jobs I'd had. I was thinking this is going to be fantastic and I'm not going to touch the principal. And I'll be able to see that grow to give to my sons when I pass on, the nest egg, and then I've got plenty to live on. And then all of that was nixed, all gone away. It's going to be hard for any of us to recover from what they've done to us, you know.
The idea of doing a fundraiser was because, like, specifically people like in your position were impacted so heavily, and like nobody's done anything in the last year. Celsius used a lot of prominent folks to like promote themselves, and there was often like a paid relationship.
Oh yeah, it for sure was. Oh gosh, I think most of the influencers I listened to mentioned Celsius. That's why I heard the word so often that I looked into it myself and thought, wow, if all these people think it's great and they're having, you know, this many billions assets under management, it must be really good. Once I'd listened to that Real Vision interview, I was just sold. That was such a compelling story, and the way he told it, it just seemed so very plausible. And so then you believed everything else he said, that he wasn't taking any risks, it was safer than a bank, that he was doing what banks should be doing for their customers, sharing the profits and not charging people fees to even have an account and all of that. So it was a very compelling business model.
You actually met him in Miami, according to your declaration. And
yeah,
the year prior in 2021, the Examiner found that Celsius had lost $811 million. So like they had these huge losses, which they never disclosed. They're saying they're profitable to us. And then you meet him in Miami, and can you maybe talk us through how that meeting went?
So basically he had everything. He had my life savings, which was my retirement fund, and my salary for an entire year. And I thought, I need to look this man in the eye and make sure that he realizes how much he's holding of my life and my future, because I see him every week in the AMA. He's there in my cabin. He's like there in your living room. So you feel like you know him very well. And he's saying all this stuff that you're hearing constantly, but he doesn't know you. You're not on his radar. So I wanted to meet him personally and look him in the eye and tell him, you have my everything. Is it all safe? Is it really as you say? I just want to look him in the eye, because the eye really gives things away if you can look someone in the eye. And I, sure enough, went to that meetup and he and Chrissy arrived, and I got in the line of people that were all struck by him, and I shook his hand and I told him all this stuff. And he said, oh, absolutely, it's safe. You don't need to worry. You know, looked me in the eye and said that. That's why I know he's a sociopath, because he had no compunction. And at that point, that was the 8th of April. And so he must have known to actually stand before him and have him lie to me like that. That's really distressing to me.
Yeah. And especially in view of the fact that he took his own personal wealth on the platform off of the platform. So he was withdrawing the month afterward.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I could tell you a bit about the idea of the fundraiser, but I thought it would make sense to try to pick one person, at least at first, and then try to hit like a $15,000 mark. And if we do that, we can pick somebody else who's in a similar situation and kind of see how many we can do, because it feels like that amount of money is significant enough to have an impact. Whereas if it's like a lot of people, when you just raise a little bit, like if everybody gets $100, it's like not moving the needle. Because I think your story is really compelling in terms of the impact it's had on your life, and the fact that like you were lied to, like directly to your face about this company. And it's had such a negative impact in terms of like your quality of life and just the stress of having gone through this. The title of the fundraiser could be Ride for Rebecca. It's like the working title.
Wow. So am I going to be the chief beneficiary then?
Yeah. So
wow, I'm so honored.
Yeah.
You picked me.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. Like you have like this really compelling story, and you're like, you've taken like a pretty visible role as well. So I feel like it would be a great person to build this around. And it's also nice that like we've gotten to know each other through this process, although it's not been very fun for either of us, I'm sure, especially for you.
Well, I know that I'm one of many people who put their whole retirement on there, who's of retirement age. And so my heart just goes out to all those people. And the only good side is that we all got to meet each other and share our stories and join together in these spaces. And it's unbelievable that so many people can come together to share and to feel the support. Take care.
You too.
Happy
Bye-bye.
cycling. Get the gel.
Thank you.